The rematch coming in of St. John's versus Washington State Universities is on right now. Wes Rambo here, joined by Worst, and we are going to get right into this one, but we have to talk about the map because, as we mentioned, we got 4 unique maps on the day, Worst. Really nice to see it. It is coming into Split, which is a map that, there are mixed opinions on in the backstage of the broadcast area, but I'm just glad to be seeing something fresh here.
Yeah, and I think really kind of comes to how sided it is for defense, like how defensive sided this map can be.
Mhm.
It just kind of makes it very difficult to approach from an objective perspective because like man, if I fall behind, like then if it's like 8-4 on my defense, it's like and I'm swapping over to attack. It's like ooh, that's like like it still feels rough. Like it still
Yeah.
feels like I'm kind of
Yeah.
in a rough spot. So we're gonna kind of see how these teams bounce back. Washington State in their last outing against St. John's did lose on Haven.
Mhm.
But a very different map here in Split. So we're gonna kind of see how that changes things up for them. Obviously, we're wanting to take it a different direction. If I'm not mistaken, they banned out no, they didn't even ban out Haven, they just didn't keep it in the map. They just didn't pick
Yep,
it.
that was the
Yeah.
it came down to Haven or it came down to Haven or Split or Icebox, and Washington ended up picking Split. So that's definitely going to be something to watch out for, right? I mean, yeah, Ascent is taken away by St. John's. They know that Washington State is strong on this map, but also, of course, Washington coming off a loss, coming off 2 games in a row, and they have to play one more yet after this. So, could we see something like, a little bit of fatigue come in? It's even just mental fatigue of playing all these maps, playing against different teams one after another, or, alternating between the two. Not the easiest situation to be in.
I think it's just a lot of Valorant to play in one day. Obviously, the group
Yeah.
stage is going through. Even if it's best of ones, it's still like I would say it's like an hour committed to each game. Where you have to be playing extremely well because these been close matches for St. John's the entire day. I mean, 13-7 on their first map, then 13-11, then 13-11. So it's like
Yeah.
they've just been having close map after close map after close map. So they've been playing a lot of Valorant and they have to having to keep a high level the entire time. So I'm going into this 4th map, the last map of the day, maybe have some relief for them coming out after this. So, how do they finish it out? How strong are they going to finish it out here on Split? And if I'm not mistaken, they are going to be um, starting on defense. So,
Yeah. It's going to be
that's a good boon.
St.
That's a good
John's
boon. Yeah.
St. John's actually starting on defense. So that's
Yeah.
even another thing you mentioned, the defensive side of Split obviously favored. Washington State has another mountain to climb in that respect. We're coming in. We have Loaf Main in for Iffy once again. This time Loaf Main, we'll see if they go with that double duelist again. It was Demetrius who was on the Reyna last time, played it so far every game that we've seen. And will that double duelist come through? Already we see the chamber locked in. That's Kenny going to be picking that up for St. John's, as well as a Sage coming through, and we have another Reyna. Everybody's bringing the
Five
Reyna in here.
Yoru.
Let's
Five
go.
Yoru. Let's go. Like what are we gonna see here? Are we gonna see something crazy? I mean, obviously, if you're watching VCT today,
Yeah.
see the neon come out from Optic, which has been a big thing for them for Victor. Um, not really as developed a pick in the meta currently. Obviously, the newest agent to Valorant, so still has a ways to go in terms of development, but
Mhm.
seems like a kind of middle power level agent. Not too
Yeah.
strong, not too weak, so definitely can make an appearance, but not going to. It's going to be double duelist once again. Going to be that Rainer raise. Obviously, Jet is still like probably like the best duelist in the game, but not as
Select
strong on
your
split. So
agent.
gonna have that raise usually coming in for them. Paired up along the way, not normally the most common thing, but yeah, um, pretty pretty good, pretty standard-ish outside of maybe the Reina here for Washington State.
Yep, they go into the raise, which I like. Definitely nice to see. And there we go. The KO comes through. It's going to be Trident back onto the Brimstone. And so the Brimstone against Omen matchup, the war rages on between these two new, these duelists who are new to the meta. I like them both. I think they both have excellent uses. We've already seen that, over the course of the day. But they really like Brimstone over on Split. There's so much you can get done with things like the stim. Of course, the orbital strike is extremely powerful on a map like Split, where there are a lot of tight areas that can be really cut off by that ultimate ability. So we'll see how that kind of pans out as we head in to the map. It's going to be St. John's starting on defense here. You have a 1-0 record against Washington State right now, and a 2-1 record on the day, looking to make it to 3. And we do have Washington State with 1-1 on the day. So the double duelist versus the definitely more kind of defensive setup you can see for St. John's University. Lots of options for the defensive side.
Lots of option indeed, particularly that Sage going to be a pick that comes out on split in some frequency actually in high levels of play. So
Yeah,
not the most uncommon pick here. Going to be
especially with the
setting up on
Viper nerf. Yeah.
yeah, gonna be set. Yeah, I expect now definitely with Viper nerf. Viper being kind of like moving away. Like a lot of time you just play solo controller Viper here.
Yeah,
previously.
there's no Viper. We haven't seen a single Viper from when I've started casting for today. So definitely
Yeah, the nerfs
interesting
weren't
to
even
see
that
that get
bad,
out.
really.
I agree. I think Viper's totally fine to play, but they're not wanting him on this map, wanting her on this map, and try to go
Not
for the
CS.
little boost. Nope. Sorry, folks, you're playing the wrong game. But they do sort of make some noise around that wall as they end up heading back towards mid for Washington State. They get a lot of space here, and will they choose to commit as there is Trident waiting in B heaven to see what he can find as they push through. And Washington State have taken mid, but they haven't gotten anything else, and it's a pretty one-note attack. The molly's perfectly timed, going to stop them from heading in. And that means they're all kind of stuck over here, going to be smoked off as well. The power of the Brimstone on defense already rearing its head, but the flash about to come out here. Dinsky, that's the go button. They're heading forward onto B. There's still the chamber in B main. Very important to be watching out for. But Trident has the first line of defense, already taken down by Lope Main's peak. Now they get onto the site. Here's Small's Nation to try to find a trade. And we sort of wait and regroup for the retake.
Very disciplined so far, and now it's time for the explosion right now. The retake coming through extremely quickly, not letting them set up. A fast, explosive retake from St. John's after a slow and patient, aggressive, like slow and patient attack there from Washington State. So I think they just didn't clear out B main, didn't know where Kenny was, just pops it out with the headhunter, just takes off 2 heads exactly as that name of the ability implies, and now they set themselves up with that pistol round win. And I think this should be an interesting, match we have here actually, with how these two teams have played it so far.
Yeah, even that pistol round, like you say, so much to talk about right there. You know, the Sage Wall, very effective on the pistol round and getting the maximum effect. It felt like Washington State were kind of lost after being stopped and after realizing it's not CS and they can't crouch boost over the wall. And so then they ended up having to kind of all funnel into mid, where they were perfectly held at bay by the Brimstone.
Now some early mid aggression here, trying to eliminate the Sage Wall, who has swapped themselves over from A onto mid here in this anti-eco round. Molly to try and protect S-Flow here as much as possible. They do have a gun differential, but even with just classics, if it's a 4-man peek around, that could be definitely dangerous with those right clicks coming out. So Flow is still a lot of pressure, but just gonna be running and gunning their way out of there. And unfortunately for D-Band, they are on the receiving end of the headshot through the smoke, and now they're going to be repelled out of mid. All that util used from them to try and get some mid control, absolutely repelled, and now they are just whimpering their way over into B main.
And Brim can basically have that mid choke point smoked off for 1 minute and 30 seconds if he wants to. Instead, heading over towards B main with the next smoke, which is a perfect read of where Washington State ended up. 4 versus 5 on the attempt, and there's lots of firepower available with these 2 Spectres to kind of try to shut this down, and not many resources available, but the flash is. It doesn't find anybody, and the paint shells as well, trying to find something, but it's Kenny to find 2 as they head out. There we go. Trident to clean it up. 4 players left alive for St. John's.
Yes, and pretty good bonus for them going to the next round. Even have the Sheriff onto that. They might even be able to just like drop the Sheriff for Kenny here. Yeah. They won't
got the
have
Headhunter as well, right? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you have Headhunter as well. You actually just have a Sheriff, but you don't want to spend money even then. Maybe it's like there's a lot of ways you can kind of be fisk. There it is. Look at that, dropping the Sheriff for Kenny. You can be very,
gotta love
fiscal.
sharing. Gotta love a little kindness, you know.
Very frugal here on this bonus round. We need as much money as we can get going to the next gun round. And I mean, look at the buy of Washington. You have 3 players on half armor. This is dangerous territory right now. And I don't think they got anything off that knife. The backup there is good from Washington State, but this is dangerous. They have half armor, a lot of players. They could easily lose this round if they're not careful.
Big jump peek there to spot out a number of players working their way towards A main. And now Washington State have to decide, do we continue after being spotted? Here's Kenny with the Headhunter, doesn't find it just yet, and does take out the Boombot. A little consolation prize there. Void is ready to flash out of this smoke as soon as they want to, and that actually does completely dissuade Washington State, who will turn tail and sprint away from that area of the map. They're going to be heard in sewers right here as these two players in mid can peek out and try to peeks out into a lot more than he bargained for, but it's going to be D-Bands to follow up. Now B is open, but not for long. You can see Void heading over there on the KO, trying to catch them, trying to get the timing right. Almost there with D-Bands starting to work their way on to B site, and Void stops and waits for his team.
Spike planted.
Going to be going down. 2 holding in cubby right now. You have a lot of lines of fire kind of on this horizontal angle right now, so anyone that goes past that column is going to have a rough time of it. As now the retake coming in, 3-on-4. Gun differential does go the way of Washington State, so they are primed to take this one. They don't have much utility though, but it doesn't matter when headshots are all they need. Void is gone, and Kenny is biding a lot of time right now. That clock is ticking. I believe they have the rendezvous there. They might just be trying to save, and it looks like both of them are just gonna be saving this one out. A little interesting on a bonus round because you generally have enough money for next round anyways. And I mean, Kenny dies there. You do really want to die, but they're gonna get some eco frags maybe. Hurt their economy a little bit more. They knew a lot of players were rough, and that's actually a really nice dodge allowing the second kill. This is so well played right now from Small Nation, and they're gonna find 3. That's a massive play from Smalls Nation. I'm gonna just say that.
Oh, that was genius right there. So good on the dismiss to dodge the paranoia. I don't think I've ever seen that interaction before. That's lovely there from Smalls Nation. The reflexes on this guy are absurd, but still, it does go, the round does go to Washington State, of course, but yeah, as you say, Smalls Nation just gets so much out of that post round there, and they are onto the bye. That was a bonus, so it's, yeah, an incredible bonus round for them, and Judge is picked up. Ree is there on that Omen, so yeah, the attacker side Judge, not the most common time to buy it, of course, but we'll see what Ree can do, maybe with those shrouded steps, get up close and personal. As they work towards A once again. You look at the chamber way back in spawn. As a matter of fact, we had a disconnect there, so that could explain it.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing is, like, that's a Judge half armor, and you have a chamber with no gun. You have a chamber with no bot gun, just full armor, and still no credits to their name. That's the amount of power Smalls Nation had in that last round in terms of the impact they now have. And gonna have some Storks trying to delay them here on the ramp push. Can they get into heaven is the question. Ropes is gonna be the first point of contention for them. Gonna be actually an aggressive push in from Essel. They can lose their life for this. They have to be very careful. Nalir actually gonna catch out Trident. And now Judge finding immediate value, pushing the ropes, taking them out, and Void is left alone. Not alone, but basically now alone. On site, he would find 2. Kenny from the backstab does find the one in Swan. That was the person that was disconnected, so that was a 4-man take. Obviously, the round already started, so they weren't going to do any shenanigans there. But a little bit rough in the situation, but still, they made the most of it, and now it's going to be, does this mid-fight? Mid-fight is just one thing, and it goes the way of Kenny. Kenny has done so much for them in this game and in this round already.
Dinsky is alone in a 1 versus 2. Yeah, an absurd round so far. You know, that hit almost working out. Then they have to turn tail, but here's Kenny to try to find one. Dinsky gets the peek, though. Dinsky is in a 1 versus 1 now. There's still the Wolf available. And it's Void trying to find their way in. Here's the 0 point. That will reveal Dinsky. So that cuts off a few options. Dinsky tries to peek out, and the spray down goes forward. It's Dinsky to find it, and that is Washington State in a 2-2. I expect to see a pause here. Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, perhaps technical difficulties. It is a timeout. You know, I assume this timeout has to do with some disconnects. But we will see as we kind of see what we can make of what's happened so far here. You know, with these teams, as here we go, we're getting them back in. But Washington State, you know, they've won a couple of gun rounds now after going down 0-2. And if you take a look at the economy, it's the perfect thing to discuss here. I mean, yeah, we got a tech pause coming in, so it is. Yeah, we are just waiting for everybody to reconnect. But if we look at the economy, worst, like I said, St. John's has now found themselves in a very tough position after that clutch from Dinsky. You know, Washington State, they had no right winning that round. It was a 4 versus 5. We got ourselves into a very difficult situation for Dinsky and still wrapped through the site, got over to B, found the pick onto the garage player, and won the 1v1. So very impressive stuff from Dinsky to, you know, get Washington State up to 2-2. They are looking to go 2-1, and they're looking to run it back on St. John's on the day.
Negative timeout. It's
Yeah.
the first time I've seen that.
This is an unusual.
They got negatives on both sides of it. It's extra negative, man. They got
It's,
negative in the first decimal place, and they got a negative after the decimal as well. That's
I'm not sure that's
that...
how that's supposed to be notated. Yeah, I mean,
Valorant,
I haven't taken a
if
math
that's how
class in a
math
while.
works,
But
yeah. I don't know if that's how math works. I don't think Riot has either. So, but no, 2-2 here for Washington State. That was a 4v5 technically, and that was actually an extra kill given over to the way of Kenny. But it was Void and Kenny that kept them in that round, despite the aggressive play on the ramp that. Some kind of oversteps there from S-Flow, I might say, like going a little bit too aggressive, getting caught out by utility, had to back up, and then the judge was just like, I'm hunting you down. I'm not worth that much anyway, so even if I die, it's pretty worth it if I just force you out. So really well played there from Washington to win that round out. And now, heavy mid pressure. Last time they were repelled, that was on a round where they didn't have much guns, and now they have the gun advantage. So will they find the no? The frenzy gonna stop it, and there's no trade. Oh, never mind, there it is.
Finally, the trade, but a trade back. Trident with the Marshall, and that puts St. John's on this eco round into a 4 versus 3. Have they recovered guns, though, is the question. The Seekers will come out to try to punish, and indeed, that will allow D-Benz to equalize here and clear Trident out of that position. Here's Kenny with the tour de force. Very dangerous to be peeking into this, but Kenny has to back off. Could get double swung here, still waiting in the corner. There's the smoke, there's the dog coming down. Kenny is going to be stunned up, and that gives them access to the site.
They'd have the CSGO operator in Kenny's hands. Gonna be kind of interesting to see what they can do here in this 3v3. All three members of Washington State basically on the same angle, finally gonna make some plays to get out the tour de force there.
Oh.
If they get hit, that would have been absolutely horrible for them to have 8 seconds of no tour de force, but still, gonna be D-Benz trying to secure this round with that ultimate available to them, but no, it's gonna be Riandinsky stopping it. Jiggle peek for information, and doesn't find it. There's tour de force, shuts it down. Really well played from Washington State here on this attack again. Split. Very attacker-sided map, so every round they get is just even better. It feels even better, right?
And a game of inches, as you say. If that 0 point had hit Chamber, that would have been a very, very different scenario. But in the end, it actually was Riandinsky who managed to find the kills needed to repel that retake. So there you go. Washington State going up in the game, going up on the map. And it's D-Benz. Lots of kills coming through from the Chamber here. Very impressive stuff so far from that. You know, D-Benz has been very much a flex player so far in this series, on the day, basically, you could say. And this time, Washington State, again, they've done this a lot here, Worst, where they group up as 5 and hit a site all together. They don't use a lurker very often. They don't use defaults very often. Going to try to hit this a ramp position here with Smalls Nation trying to peek something out, but the flash comes through. Lear to respond. It gets taken down, and Loafmane takes down Smalls. It's going to be Demetrius as well, and Washington State have exploded into this site. So effective here. The heal comes through. It's now going to be only the Chamber remaining. Kenny is miles away.
Yeah, and we're seeing some pretty good site execs here from Washington, but again, they're going very fast, early committing to sites, and then backing off early if they have like instant repellents, you know, like let's say they have like a stage wall that they don't want to break, or they have utility going their way. They're like, okay, we can just back off and go somewhere else. That's kind of been the strategy for them so far. But if they find early things, are like, okay, we're not getting repelled very early. There's not some like early contest of like, let's say, sage slows and sage walls and a brimstone molly, right? Like if that isn't coming out, we are going to commit the site, and we are going to just run at you and like gun you down. Like that's just what they're trying to do over and over and over again, and it's worked out for them in these last 4 rounds. Ever since guns have gone back into their hands, they've just been able to do this. Exactly what we saw in their last match on Ascent, right? That's like what we saw from them there. Yeah. Once they got the guns in their hands, they were just like, we're gonna fast exec a site, and we're just going to try and game diff you.
Yeah, well, here we go, trying to aggression diff come through from St. John's, and they do get value out of those SMGs. A 4 versus 3 after the chaos in mid. They're continuing to stay on these forward angles, but Dinsky punishes S-Flow for going too far. It's going to be a 3 versus 3, but the spike is way over on A right now, and Loafmane is there to support. So these 3 players who pushed up mid did get some value, did get some info, but now they've got to worry about the Sky over on B, and 2 players kind of unknown. They know one of them's got to be close to the A position, but Dinsky will be running into some trouble here. The Headhunter, actually, the trade does come through. Dinsky does well to find 1, but it's a 2 versus 2.
Versus 2. Retake is going to come in. Looks like both of them are going to end up convening in heaven. Now, will Smalls Nation converge into screens or not is the question. No, but they're not. Oh, chicken catwalk, it's not going to be there. Straight into hell. They're gonna know the Omen kind of on site is suppressed, not gonna find the gun duels, they're not giving it to them. They're playing these angles super well, not giving them the duels they want, and Loaf Main finishes it out. 5 rounds in a row on the guns, and Washington State kind of doing what they did last time as well, where they're just really fast executing sites, getting those plant downs, and trying to overwhelm you in these aim duels. And so far on Split has been extremely effective, and these 5 rounds already. If this ends 7-5, that's already a great half of Washington State, but they are poised to take even more.
Yeah, I mean, recall back, you know, if you were watching that Haven game too, the way Washington State was playing their attack on Haven, it was very good the way they were doing trades. They were fundamentally hitting sites and areas of the map very well. So, you know, that's why they seem to be benefiting from this attack situation here. And yeah, once again, all 5 players, they just group up, they just try to win those duels, they try to get those trades. So far, it's working out on the gun rounds, as you say. We'll see if Kenny can make any trouble for them here, as waiting behind the smoke, now gonna push out. Could this be the perfect timing? Here is, oh, here's the Trident calls it down from the sky and rains hellfire on Washington State. A flawless round in a matter of seconds.
What an amazing ultimate to come out there for Washington State, for Trident especially. I mean, that was really well played. I mean, that's kind of the what happens when Washington State does these 5-man group ups on the sites. Like, you're going into a team with like Sage, Brimstone, to a lesser extent the like Void with their Molly, or Chamber with their slow, but like, you're gonna get clumped up and you are gonna get taken out. And right there was just a perfect execution on the flank, coming in with the ultimate. And now back to mid we go. They try to go back to heaven.
Like, oh, you got no orbital strike now. That's an ultimate. You know, he is 4 orbs on the way, but not gonna happen this time. You can see Flo with the resurrection available. Definitely going to be potentially coming into play this round, or at least in upcoming rounds. I think that's the most kills I've ever seen with an orbital strike in organized play. That is so awesome to see.
Definitely has been one of the most effective uses of it. And then it's Trident again, showing their effectiveness, shutting down Ree. They've stemmed the bleeding right there. It was 5 rounds in a row. Cut that off right there with that massive wombo combo. And now they're just trying to play kind of a more standard defense so far. They're going to come out. Knife is going to detect them in mid. It's going to be another mid play. They're trying to get in here. How much is available for them to repel? They've already used a wall, already used a slow, but now it's going to be a phantom bullet to the head. It's going to shut down D-bands. And S4 getting 2 there is actually massive for the rest of this round. 2 versus 4.
Yeah, Esfo does an incredible job in that position against quite a lot of firepower. And Void here kind of working his way up, trying to, you know, time the flash correctly. And it does get, well, yeah, it does definitely get one. And that's all Void needed to do in that situation. Kenny's going to wait up top and teleports away. Oh, Kenny's right behind him. It's Dinsky now. I got baited there by the switch, but it's Dinsky trying to push up. And yeah, Kenny does not have a chance against that, but still Dinsky in a 1 versus 2 situation in their Smalls Nation, just using the gunfire to determine the location of the enemy. It's going to be Washington State now 5 rounds, St. John's on 4. And man, yeah, this game, it's like you said, this game had potential to deliver, and it certainly is now. Both of these teams are have gotten a lot of, you know, it feels like they are kind of getting warmed up, right? It feels like both of them are playing more to their strengths than they have been all day.
I think it's interesting seeing Demetrius here not go for a gun because they have their ult, but I mean, it's not typically the Rays you see doing that. It's not really,
you only got 1 bullet there, Demetrius. You better make it count.
Knives, and it's definitely not tour de force, so I don't know if that's really the play here, as already defense going to take it out. Kenny coming alive here on this defensive chamber. And then St. John's really picking it up after those tough losses. So coming back in can definitely end this 7-5. They need it, but S4 has to live for it. And there's so much pressure coming down here, but they don't follow up on it. But they do have someone very deep into ropes. There is a trademark, trademark down there to catch it out. But
yeah, Dinsky is revealed there, but now still has this presence in mid. And so that's going to be able to cut off those rotators who might be coming from B once they realize this is an A hit. They don't know it yet, though. You can see them staying very still. 2 players stacked up outside A heaven there, and finally they do choose to reposition. But St. John's, no idea where to go. And where will this from the shadows end up going? They actually think better of it, just moving back. And this is good from Washington State, and they are rewarded for their patience. There's Dinsky to find S-Flow in the corner there. Here's the Lear coming through. They're able to get into Heaven from this, and they're able to get all the way past into B site. It's Kenny who's been blinded. It's going to be the B site taken. It's going to be the showstopper coming out just to try to dissuade. It basically just gives them time to get that spike down, and now they can take up post-plant positions. St. John's close on their heels. That's a huge paint shells to clear them out, but it doesn't get a lot of damage in the end. Smalls has already dropped. Smalls gets a great timing onto Loaf Main. Now it's going to be 4 versus 3. The trades start to come through. Smalls Nation spots one out. There's Void to use that information, and it's only Dinsky remaining. Dinsky is suppressed right now. Gets one for free. Kenny just tries to stick. Now they know the position. They're going to both go around pillar. Here's Dinsky trying to get a flash. Going to get one. That's going to get them off the spike. Dinsky goes for one, but Smalls Nation with a great little flick there, and St. John's equalize.
That could have been the opportunity to kind of turn it back in their favor, right? If they managed to clutch that out 1v3. But no, not gonna find it. Instead, Defuse comes in with to back up tied, game 5-5. And we're seeing these blows back and forth, these runs they're going on ever since the gun runs did start. And we're gonna see if they can continue this. Can they get 5 in a row for themselves here for St. John's? That is the question. 7-5 is kind of what you want to see at this point because it is split. Otherwise, it feels really rough. But I mean, this is still dangerous buy here. You have a lot of sheriffs, you got specters, judges. I mean, we've already seen how we can do the judges. Maybe they could do a fast A, but I mean, St. John's might be thinking they might do a fast A on this on the eco round, so they had 3 members already in that position to shut it down.
Push up to mid in a Washington State. They are now kind of like St. John's are kind of figuring them out, and Washington State are realizing that, and so they're playing a little bit more trepidatious up towards this position, not taking as much space, knowing that ST Flow, the likes of ST Flow and that Brimstone, who's also often playing there, can do some of the work. This time it's Eco, and here comes Demetrius, tries to find one with the Sheriff, but doesn't manage to get it. It would have looked very cool if he had. Here's Void, oh, that's Flow. What the heck is going on right now? Ray trades that one back with the Judge only, and Ray is alone here in this vent area, very trapped, very much hanging on to that spike for dear life. And all these players, though, are stacked up on one side. So if Ree, not Ray. Got some fans in the chat, by the way. Ree, average Ree enjoyers are around.
Is it a Judge Memento coming up right now? Is kind of the question here. The Bucky of old definitely had a little bit more potent, lethal in those positions. But nope, gonna get shut down. And 6-5 already on hand. Just want to end this one out, but we're gonna have a buy coming in here for Washington State. Don't think it's full util, but still, still have all guns, full armor, all that kind of stuff for them to try and get themselves one final round. 6-6 neutral in the half. Of course, you always gotta factor in map. Tidiness. We said this a lot because Split is kind of one of the most egregious examples of it in Valorant right now. So it's always you have to kind of comment on it. It's not to say that like, oh, they're guaranteed to win on defense or attack. We saw that at Champions. That was not the case in the slightest. Yes, but definitely is an indication of how the map can go, especially when teams are very closely, closely skilled and like this.
Absolutely. And there we go. The aggression does pay off for Loaf Main, who takes out Trident. That's a very important one, too. Those stimmies and smokes no longer available for the Brimstone. And we are seeing Smalls Nation have a very important job in the back of sight and doesn't manage to get it done. That's going to be the kill. That's going to be the plant coming through. And still you have Raze posted up in Heaven here. Demetrius is in such a critical spot. If he can even get one. There's the res. He's got such an opportunity, but gets traded out. That's so good, and the trades are continuing to come. That's great from Void to find 2, but still a 3 versus 2 in favor of the attackers, and Dinsky goes right through the smoke, takes him down. That was the resurrection used, but it wasn't enough, and Washington State equalized as we head into the second half.
Yep, 6-6, gonna be swapping over to defense. You feel really nice here for Washington State. Obviously, you had much more momentum. You could have been looking at an 8-4 half potentially here, but the bleeding was stemmed there after that.
It was that
amazing play.
Brim ult round. Yeah, exactly. That was so the one that turned it around.
If there's any round to turn it around, I think it's got to be that. Like, it definitely has to be that round to do it. And look at how even it is across the boards in terms of impact for the members here of St. John's. Like, 10, and then 9 across the board, right? Like,
Yeah,
you are having
exactly.
some very consistent impact from everyone. You gotta kind of, you like to see that. Obviously, Dinsky and Loafmane popping off right now is really good, but it's not. When you have impact from every single role, it definitely feels really nice. And we're gonna see if they're gonna continue on the attack, where it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit harder to do that because we'll have much more determined roles and like positioning in the XP.
Yeah, you know, and it's it is interesting to see because of how often mid was hit that they still had equal kills. Demetrius is going to go right through the smoke, and not an advisable action right there for Demetrius. As they are punished heavily for that. St. John's will find their way right into B main, and they're going to find their way all the way onto site here. There's nobody to even come close to stopping them. Dinsky is peeking from spawn, but the Classic will not be able to get a lot of mileage from this position. The plant coming down, a 2 versus 5 retake, and this round is basically over.
Yep, and I think it's gonna be very. I think that's something we saw before from Demetrius. I think we gotta stop seeing that. I mean, the raw pushes through smokes with no util to help you is a little wacky, a little wild. Also, a full team flash of both your players you're trying to retake, also a little wacky, a little weird, but not gonna be the end of the world for them. Obviously, they would have loved to try, but I mean, there's a 5v2 with pistols. It's not very easy to get back into that site. Gonna get the headhunter, shut it down. And that's a expensive kill technically of like 100 credits for that, but still not the worst thing in the world for them. Just gonna go on anti-eco and see if they can do a run that Washington State had before.
Yeah, and, you know, it is something to point out. You mentioned Demetrius, who was top fragging in the last map and has kind of been the sort of the star player alongside Loafmane. This time, Demetrius at the bottom of the scoreboard. We need to see more fragging out of that player. It seems like Washington State definitely does have some amount of reliance on Demetrius to get those kills, and it shows in the play style as well, right? The way Demetrius is pushing out of those smokes, the way Demetrius is going forward and trying to be a very self-sufficient fragger. You know, when it works, but in this case, not coming to fruition. Here is the hit as they play against the Pistols, and St. John's get into the site. They take down the site anchor, and that is basically going to do it for the round, although Loafmane does find a shorty kill. And also picks up a gun.
Oh, that's a little wild. Well, you're gonna have a shorty kill coming out here. 4v4 on the retake. Gun differential does obviously go the way of St. John's. TP into the Dark Shroud. Does not end up well for them as Flo looking for 4. Almost finds it done with the shorty at the last second, and now 8-6 at the half. But going in, bonus versus full buy. Who is gonna win this one out? I think this will be the first time we're gonna see the bonus not go the way of the expected team if this happens here.
Yep. So I think bonuses have always been lost from the matches we've casted. I think you're correct. So yeah, just a nice hit there. And yeah, St. John's now 8-6 on the attacking half. So Washington State did go down at the beginning of the first half as well, and of course brought it back to 6-6 in the end after being down, I think 5-1 or 5-2. So we'll see if they can rally as they get onto guns. They seem more comfortable in that scenario. We see a push come up mid, very quick up against Dinsky, who will flash into the dark cover and use that space that is created to back off, and the attackers do back off as well.
I think it's a little bit slow, a little bit cautious, if you will. Have a split here. B main and mid are under pressure. Certainly backing off. 5 out of B main, never what you want to do. Can't get shut down very easily by paint shells and the such, but gonna be doing it nonetheless, and I don't think the race is aware. They do see it with the jump peak, but Kenny didn't see the jump peak, so they're not aware at all, and they get shut down.
Huge kills coming through from the defenders. There's the wall coming up, but Dinsky has already found one before it even gets there. A 4 versus 2 as Void and Flo are just backed up into this site here, and it's Flo remaining. Void does manage to find one as he goes down, but that's going to be all. 8-7 as Washington State do, you know, they keep our perfect record going. Bonuses have not been won all day long.
Yep, and now we're going to be seeing Judge defensively even better than what we saw from me on the attack, and it was even finding value there. So looking good for Washington State here on this next buy. They didn't lose too much there. Don't have a gun here on D-Bands, but they will have Headhunter. Or no, actually going to have a Vandal on them. So I'm going to have a full buy basically across the board if you count that Judge as a full gun, which I definitely will on defensive side split. And I want to see kind of if St. John's does a similar style to what Washington does, where they just kind of 5-man execute. Looks like that's what they're doing so far. It looks like that's going to be the same here. With the stim pad, going to be jumping away, but dismiss. Very cool. Going to get them out of that. Nothing lost really there. Just going to get the frag and leave, and now it's a 4v5 for this retake, and they're definitely set up to be a potent retake.
It's so good from Loafman. You know, we are seeing, with all this Reyna being played at a relatively high level, we are seeing some cool Reyna tech come through. Well, of course, that was just a nice little shot there, but now the Seekers will come in for the retake. It's going to be Dinsky and D-Bands to finish off the last 2 kills. And yeah, you know, with that player going down on the way in, St. John's did not have a lot of depth to their post plant setup there.
Yep, and kind of just sitting around here, waiting for that defuse to come through.
Yeah, are we waiting to pick up a... Nope, they're all just sitting there.
Go.
Okay, so we have some info from the players. I think that there is somebody's getting up. Hey, these players are playing a lot of games in a day, right? Sometimes you got to take a break for your biological needs. That is exactly what's happening here. We are continuing to wait, and we got 8-8 as the score line.
Yep, 8-8 in the scoreline.
I'm being stun locked by all chat right now.
Yeah, all chat do be stun locking people, and that is kind of the purpose of it. So now we're looking towards how do we develop our attacking sides? Or are we just gonna be 5-manning every single time? Because
yeah,
both these teams are the same style right now of just 5-manning and 5-manning and 5-manning. So you kind of want to see defaults. You want to see players go for flanks, go for splits, that kind of stuff. Oh, they just get shut down completely there in mid. Washington State doesn't have a... and Trident has can't hit the shots, and 9-8 into the scoreline. Was an eco round, but I don't even... They should have a buy, but I don't know how good it will be here.
I think it's decent now. Well, yeah, you can see it. Yeah, it's definitely... They can buy everything they need, so that's going to be St. John's getting themselves into a position where they will try to equalize the rounds once again. And, you know, we're getting another close game here. Like we said before, the group stage is not the place where you often see this, but, you know, a lot of these teams have been playing in these tournaments in the past. They've been getting to know each other, getting to figure out each other's style and figure out kind of the meta that's shaping up around EGF. And, you know, a lot of that meta kind of manifests in huge, big pops out from 4 or 5 people out at once, right? And especially on split, that does seem to be the case for these teams.
Yeah, definitely has been pop heavy right now. It kind of reminds me of like a Korea kind of thing, where like they're just super sightings like heavy, but even then there's a little bit more to it. But obviously when you think like the top Korean teams to like collegiate teams, obviously that's going to be the case. I'm not expecting that, but it's just
thread there.
Yeah, it's just reminiscent. It's just very reminiscent to like the different. It's always fun in like in regional esports where like how do the different regions play, right? I always love like kind of dissecting and seeing that. And seeing that here was pretty interesting.
Yeah, here we go with the entrance into B main, and the null command is used. Dinsky has to run away from that, but isn't fast enough. It's Trident to take out Ree as well towards that B site. So now it's going to be once again a 2 versus 5 retake, or 2 versus 4, pardon me, retake situation, where D-Bands has to reveal his position in order to break the wall, even to give themselves a chance with 2 potential entrances now to the site. Loaf main working up slowly. Main finds this, there definitely could be something found, but D-Bands goes down on the other side. Now it's Loaf main in a 1 versus 3. The time starts to tick down, has to go through the molly to try to catch them off guard. Now there's been way too much time, and yet you can't check them both. Void with a good crossfire there. Loaf main goes down. St. John's equalize blow for blow. Haymaker for haymaker, back and forth. These two teams have a budding rivalry right now. It has to be said. This is some really nice Valorant we're seeing.
Yeah, some really nice Valorant back and forth, and in the group stages no less, right? Where we've seen these 3 teams, they've been competing, they've all been close matches. None of them have been blowouts. I mean, I was there for prelim 1. We had a lot of 13-1s, 13-2s. Like, we're not seeing that here. That is just not the case. You're not going to find that here in this prelim 2. We are seeing 13-7s, 13-11s all over the place. And right now, I mean, at worst, we're going to see a 13-9. At best, we could see something even better, as the paint shell going to be doing some bounces right there. And the peak there from Kenny is not going to go the way they would have liked it to. I think Operator versus Headhunter goes a little bit way in the Operator's favor.
Yeah, definitely. There's a percentage. There's just an expected value you get out of that peak, and against the Tour de Force, it's not, or the operator proper is not going to be very successful for the Tour de Force very often. It is a buy round for St. John's, so that's an interesting. It's kind of an odd choice for Kenny to just sort of dry peek on his own there. D-Bands is still holding this corner. Here's the res coming through, and there's D-Bands trying to punish this, but yeah, he had backed off of one angle, so there is going to be the 5 versus 5 still in the round. Void the Lurker is revealed by that flash. So that's actually a good, it's good to get that info that there is already a player close for B, as the main presence once again kind of works towards mid with the spike in hand.
And already going to get shut down there.
Mid.
As Demetrius firing back with the 2K for themselves after the first pick, and Void going to get traded out as well. Good to find a read there before Dinsky does peek out and take them away. But we're kind of seeing here again and again. It's like it's like St. John's is like moving into a site as 5, and then walking away from the site as 5, and then like it's just very standard. Just like, I'm gonna be with my boys. I'm with my boys.
Yeah, hey, I'm just here with my boys, running into sites.
Here with
in
the
this
boys.
In this case, all the boys are down. That's D-Bands to find the last 2. Yeah, and they just ran out of time there. Like, they had 11 seconds and barely had even touched the ground that was around the site. So D-Bands with some easy shots there. The Sky flash to help out. Now Washington State take the lead once again.
Yep, Washington State in the lead and looking to extend it even further. You're gonna have a couple of not amazing buys here. You're gonna have Tour de Force for Kenny, so you're not too worried about that. Typically 5 shots is all you really need on the Tour de Force. If you're doing more than that, something's
pretty rare to be reloading the operator, so the same principles apply.
Yeah, same principle. And so, but like the half armor is a real big thing. Same punches a lot of time. Not as much bouncing, but still gonna be doing the same effective maneuver there of trying to get some early damage on mid pressure that we've seen multiple times. And now we're kind of seeing more of a default style, right? We're seeing this guy, we're seeing one split off on A, and last time Kenny just walked into the operator being very much conscious that is a definitely an option of what could happen, not taking it. So
yep,
it's gonna be interesting to see if that ends up becoming a duel that happens, but right now it's just 4 up mid and then Kenny to cover extremities.
Good to see the orbital strike, as we did see the potential. It was pulled out there, and the showstopper comes out, but Demetrius is instantly denied. That's the Void to take them down, and it's going to be a 4 versus 4 with the orbital strike still available over on the side of St. John's. So do they use this to clear out a spot and get themselves some space towards a site? Void peeks out dry and gets punished. That's the Seekers now. Orbital strike does come in. Dinsky has to go forward. They trade it with a lot of resources expended by both sides. A 3 versus 3 we end up in the round. And yeah, Kenny is still there, kind of lurking. Still this, and there, D-Bands. Oh, Kenny pulled out the Tour de Force and said, I got the better gun now, and tried it. Oh, Loafman finds 2 randomly. I think peeked out from the spawn side of heaven there. So now it's a 1 versus 1 with Kenny having to teleport up top and getting the spike. And that was Reyna not realizing that that was a potential possibility, because I think the spike was dropped. So the plant will go down with a second to spare. It's Loafman in a 1 versus 1 against Kenny. And this is a game of timings right now, but there is a Lear available for Loafman, so the advantage could go in their favor.
Messed up the sound. He messed the drop.
Yep, messed up the drop and did make the noise, but still a potential for Kenny with that Tour de Force out. The fake comes through. Kenny peeks out, doesn't reveal the position. And there's the Lear. Kenny tries to peek out once, and Kenny gets the kill. That is such an epic 1v1, man. So much brain power being expended by both players, and that's going to bring it, say it with me, we're back even, 10-10.
That's something you normally see on Split a lot of the time, but we're seeing it right now, and I think Loafman there got a little bit confused with what was going on. They thought maybe Spike was in their hands already, didn't know the Spike was dropped. If they held Spike like that, we could have seen an earlier fight, didn't have to go down to the wire like that. Definitely would have been much more preferable for Loafman, but still, 10-10, they have some room to work with here before we get into those dire moments, but still, every round matters right now, and can they, like, it's same thing again, 4 up mid, Kenny watching A extremity.
Yeah.
It might just get too predictable. They're gonna have Loafman pick out on the flash.
Gets a lot of info, but I mean, that info was already there. They're peeking mid. They're pushing mid. So maybe not too much novel info gained, but Loaf main thinks they're going to go past. This time, S-Flow is holding the angle, waiting for that player to push out of the smoke. It's the advantage for St. John's. They have to regroup and decide what to do with this 5v4.
Shadows traveling.
Oh, the one way, and he still finds it.
Great find for Reed.
3 HP. 3 HP. They could get healed up by Sky, so they're gonna flash and try to make some space for the Sky, but they're not gonna find it. Smalls Nation already pushing in, putting some pressure onto this. Oh, but this Ray down is good. Boy follows up, and Ray on 3 HP gets 1. 2v2 now. That kill from Ray is massive. They're gonna have suppression coming out though, so pushing back in here with no paint shells available could be a bit rough.
Yeah, nice use of the null command there to just kind of slow down the retake, guarantee the plant. And yet, D-Bands doesn't have a rifle. D-Bands had the tour de force out and got suppressed, and so having to back off, that's such a delay. The spike is still not far gone, so they could consider this. Tour de force is back available, misses the shot, reveals the position. Demetrius has to make something happen. Great game sense there. Sprays through, gets a bunch of damage on Trident, but he is not touched, and the bullets are just ahead. But D-Bands gets the peak as it goes out, and D-Bands with the second with the tour de force. The retake is successful from Washington State.
Okay, I was scared for a second because I'm like, oh wait, but no, they had plenty of time. 4.26 seconds. No G2 up in here. Yeah, no G2. So we're going to get this. I don't know if they do that in Valorant as well, but that's definitely a CS thing for them.
Yeah. If you watch CS, you know.
G2, not a very big fan of diffusing, but again, Judge gonna be coming out here from Ray, and look at this buy here from St. John's. This could be the nail in the coffin. They go to 12 here. They might just be ending it out. And I don't even think you're gonna have enough on Smalls Nation if they do buy that Vandal. Like, they're just deciding, like, do we try to force really hard here to deny them getting to 12? And like I said, like, if you're going in and eco onto 12th round for the enemy team, that feels awful. Absolutely awful.
Since the 8-8 scoreline after the pistol and then the 2 gun rounds, I don't think we've had a 2-round lead this entire half. It's been blow for blow for blow for blow. Both of these teams are just running it back, and you can see, it representing the economy, but for now, it's Dinsky to push out once again. The aggression through mid every single round. Worst every single round, and Kenny finds the headhunter kill this time. It appears that the attackers have found the sauce up in the mid area, but D-Bands starting to answer back. Loafmane's fully flashed and can't find the spray. Void has 3 HP remaining, and the Thrifty comes through. St. John's tie it up again.
Yep, and I mean, on the Thrifty, they do not want them to have a 2-round advantage. They're going to use everything in their power to deny this and shut this down. Even if it's no money in the bank, they're going to find the Thrifty. And now look at Washington State's economy. Oh, it's just back and forth with these teams. You think they finally have an advantage to shut them out, put it on the match point. This could easily go into overtime. A Thrifty could come out, but they're going to have a bye next round, I'm pretty sure, on most every one of their players. So even if they lose this, St. John's goes to 12, it's definitely doable here for Washington State to force overtime, but not over yet. We just saw 50 come out for St. John's. They see 3 there. I think it's like, okay, guys, we're going A. Instantly, they're going Suez, but are they ready here for the chamber?
Are they ready? But his defense ready? Only the headhunter, and they were ready for him, that's for sure. So, Flo goes for that, and the smokes will come through on A. St. John's, pardon me, gonna peek off that. They get control of sight, and they get into great post-plant positions. You've already got a player over towards screens. You've already got a player still back in spawn. Loafmane is going to have to be clearing out Kenny here along with Demetrius. This is a very, very difficult retake situation. A great shadow here, but Demetrius does find a trade onto Void, who was playing close. There's Kenny coming out with 2 Vandal kills, and it's going to be ST Flow keeping Dinsky back in heaven. Dinsky's on very low HP and no chance against Kenny. That's a 3K on the round for the chamber, and St. John's get themselves to a very beleaguered match point.
Yeah, and I just got some information. Some numbers have been crunched, and here's the kind of the ramifications of this match. Either way it does go.
Yes. If
WSU, Washington State University, does win, then they're going to make it go to 2-1, making St. John's University 2-2. Sacramento can then beat Washington State and force a 2-2 and have a 3-way tie in a 3-team bracket, which would be absolutely Crazy
Wow.
stuff, right? And then,
Yeah.
but if St. John's University goes in, they're going to go through on first seed, and then it's going to be Sacramento versus Washington State to kind of determine who's going where.
Right.
Because obviously St. John's would be 3-1. No one can touch them at that point. Everyone else, everyone would believe, would be 1-2 at that point.
So this round is St.
Very
John's chance
important.
to secure themselves a first place seed guaranteed in the group. Guarantee themselves way into that group stage. And already it's going to be the entrance this time. Hey, look at that. Very few players in mid this round, and they do manage to get the res onto Void. And so they get themselves a 5 versus 4 just using that. The res from Sage as well. Everybody's coming back from the dead in this round. And we got a 5 versus 3 situation. Trades to come through 4 versus 2 now. St. John's, can they do it? Can they finally string 2 rounds together after this madness of a half? We'll see if Loafmane and co are able to do anything up against this 4-player post plant here with 2 behind pillar. There's 1 back site revealing now. There's the 0 point. Loafmane is revealed. We still got Chamber. There's Loafmane to find 1. That's what you need to start with, but the suppress, he can't get the heal. Now he does get it, but the dismiss coming out. D-Bands is gone. Loafmane is gone as well. Smalls Nation, another 13-11, an absolute nail biter, and St. John's have secured themselves first in the group. They go 3-1.
Yep, and now the pressure is on here for Washington State University. An absolute nail biter from start to finish. Man, that was a good series of Valorant. Another 13-11 in the books for this group stage, and I just been so excited with the level of play of Valorant we've seen in this group stage. Like, you usually have
Yeah.
a lot of things like a lot of disparity in skill level in collegiate group stages, but right now it's been neck and neck the entire time.
Absolutely has. We will take a short break. When we come back, we have our last match of the day. It's going to be Washington State having their rematch up against Sacramento State. We'll see you then.